I'm Jim.
And I'm Frank.
And I'm Jerry.
And this is the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast, where the shop talk is rock. This happens to be episode number 121. Now, next episode, guys, it'll be like, how many years have we been doing this? It'll be pretty much an anniversary close to it.
I know it was October, wasn't it?
Yeah.
October?
So
maybe two more episodes, right?
122 or 123 are going to be anniversary episodes. We're going to have to actually look at it.
Wow.
And it's been, what, 30 years now? How long have we been doing this?
I was thinking 29.
29?
High 20s. Yeah.
It's been quite a long time.
I think it's longer than that.
It might be. Feels like it sometimes, but
could be. Yeah.
Some days.
Yeah. Especially when
days
I'm editing.
Yeah.
Couple of things to talk about. Two tours that I noticed are coming around next year, and I'm curious because I don't think either one of you will go see either one of them. But I was kind of amused by them because as we're getting older, of course, so are the bands and the artists. So the first one, Stevie Nicks is going to do a tour next year. Any desire to see Stevie Nicks live by herself?
Nope.
I love Stevie Nicks.
I do too, but yeah, not to go to a show.
You know that I am not a Fleetwood Mac fan, but
right.
I love her voice.
Yes.
Well, I love her voice.
Yeah. Amazing singer.
I'm a much probably bigger fan of her solo stuff.
Yeah. Now,
no, I won't be going.
This will be one of those shows that if Cindy wants to go to, then I'm going. I would not myself.
Well, yeah, you better.
Just because of like Landslide or, she'd do that or some of the other tunes. Might have to go.
Leather and Lace. Oh, I love that song.
But I'm not a huge Stevie Nicks fan of the overall product. Again, love the voice like you guys, but I don't know if it's enough to go sit through a concert or not at this stage of the game. The other one, it's going to be a dual headlining extravaganza.
Oh.
We've got Journey and Toto are going to tour together next year. Now, before I get anything out of you guys, Journey as a band are not even speaking to each other.
Yeah, thank you. And Jonathan Cain
are fighting, and then Neil actually, I guess, said if he could get rid of
court, right, Frank? Yeah.
Well, Neil has been using the company credit card to buy Zooms and Wham Whams, and Pineda and Jonathan Cain are at odds with Neil Sean, and just how do you get along? Yeah, and of course the co band would be Toto. Now I have to tell you guys, I think I told you before, I went and saw Ringo Starr's traveling all-star band.
Wow.
I nearly got tickets for that because I thought I need to see at least one Beatle.
One Beatle. Yeah.
One Beatle.
Now I've seen two now. And I will say this, the man is 83 years old. If he comes around next year, do yourself a favor and go see him because you're not just seeing Ringo Starr. Steve Lukather,
legend,
from Toto played with him this last go around. And they play all their hits. Rosanna in Africa, they played that. Edgar Winter, who stole the show, in my opinion, they do Frankenstein and Free Ride.
Nice.
And Edgar Winter's a multi-instrumentalist. I highly recommend it. Awesome. How about Greg Bissonette from the David Lee Roth Band on drums?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. So now I know him from Satriani. He did
some
Satriani drums. Yeah. Him and his brother. Yeah.
Colin Hay from Men at Work.
Right. I saw that.
Be Good Johnny.
His voice was the best of all of them. He did.
I don't doubt it.
Down Under, Come From Land Down Under, and I forget the other two.
Be Good Johnny was always my favorite of theirs.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Warren Ham, who has been in Toto and Kansas, he's playing saxophone and doing the synths and stuff. And Hamish Stewart, who was with the Average White Band. He was the weak link to this all-star band. He's 73 years old, and his voice sounded every bit of 73 years. Did a couple Average White Band tunes and whatnot. Entertaining. Over 2 hours of, it felt like you went to the county fair, because people walking in had corn dogs and shorts and flip-flops, and they're walking in like, hey, here's a show, and they go in, and then for 2 hours they play all these hits,
and it's nothing but hits, right?
Nothing but hits. Thank goodness Ringo doesn't sing You're 16 anymore, and he didn't do Only You. Those are the only two songs that you would
I
be
like
familiar.
Photograph.
He does that. He does Back Off Boogaloo, I'm the Greatest. All these great Ringo
Don't
tunes.
Come Easy. Yeah.
Yes, he did them all. 83
Beautiful.
years old, and you'd never know it by looking at him.
Wow.
So, and his kid plays the drums, right, or something like that.
On this particular tour, not this go round. Like I said, they had Greg Bissonette. This
Greg Bissonette, right.
That's
and
right.
Then Ringo would jump up there and play drums and for all the other stuff. And Greg Bissonette kind of accompanied him as well.
Yeah,
fantastic. Cindy and I left.
Wow.
He passed through here in California, went to the Ontario Toyota Center.
Right.
It wasn't half full. It was the floor section and some of the sides. That was it. The upper level was completely draped off. Now, the following 2 nights later, he's in Arizona, and it looks like it's packed. But he had just come through California not long ago. So I'm wondering if it just didn't really
diluted the ticket sales, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And they weren't expensive, but they were well worth the money we paid. But I recommend it. Again, a Beatle. And
I saw one. Yeah.
And so I'm halfway there, and the other half was on the other side. So that's as good as it gets for me right now.
Sure.
Good deal.
But check it out. I highly recommend it.
So weird that you mentioned Toto, because I think I must have seen something about this tour. And I think people largely look at Africa as kind of a jokey song.
Right.
I like it.
But to this day, you still hear it all over.
Yes, you do. Yep.
And I'll tell you what, the guitar riffs that Steve Lukather does on Rosanna are he's an incredible instrumentalist.
He's a pro. Yeah, he's no slouch.
Goodness, yeah. But he just slams that guitar on Rosanna. And again, not a Toto fan like you guys. This is like, they were kind of a little too poppy for me at the time. But man, live, and he's not a great singer. And so Stuart Hamm did all the high parts for him. And then Steve Lukather sang, which I don't know who the singer is for Toto, but he will be doing it.
There's two of them, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Steve actually did some vocals on some Toto songs.
Well,
I was surprised to find out.
Okay. I would not call him a lead vocalist by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I don't think he did Rosanna or
Africa.
Or Africa.
Yeah.
So,
but still, he didn't do him any discredit whatsoever. Again, when you watch a band live, there's all kinds of stuff going on that you let slide because it is live. But fantastic.
I learned something interesting about him recently. He and I think it was 2 other members of the band, the drummer maybe.
Mm-hmm.
They were already studio musicians when they were in high school.
Right.
So they'd finish up their school day and then go to the studio and play all night.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get that gig when you're sub 18 years old? Hey,
you're already
that good, right?
Yeah,
that tells you that the guy was a phenom already, right?
Yes, right. I mean, someone like him, you have people like Eddie Van Halen and all these other people that are well-known guitarists. They all looked up and appreciated him already. When you're a fan of Steve Lukather, the guy must have some chops, right? So, fantastic. And it's amazing. Toto, really? I didn't think a guitar god would be in Toto, but this guy can play. Oh, his solos are just flawless, beautiful.
It would be interesting to see how many albums that guy appears on.
He's actually played on. Yeah, no doubt.
The Curry Sisters played on that.
Yeah, very good. I've got that floating around here somewhere. Anyways, okay. How about a mail call, Jim? What do you got for us?
I do not have a mail call.
No mail call. That's how good my memory is.
I know.
That's how good my memory.
I think you said you had a mail call.
No, I am not sharing my mail call. I had one piece, and then I put it away because it's so poppy. I'm embarrassed to represent
Boo
on this show.
Yeah. Frank says he's embarrassed, Jaime. Come on.
Yes.
Drop it.
No,
Look,
no,
rock is a very big umbrella.
it is not
It
rock.
is huge.
It is not rock.
It's poppy, he said. Yeah.
Oh, I
poppy.
know it.
Yeah.
It's got to be the Spice Girls.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Tell me what you want. What you really, really want. Tell me
I'll
what
share
you want,
after
what you
the
really,
show.
really want.
Okay, fair
Okay.
enough.
So why don't we jump right into some new music? And Jerry, what do you have for us on episode 121?
Yes, sir. Jim and Frank. I have a gentleman named Steve Lewis, and thank you for getting back to the show, Steve, and Shake and Abe. Thank you for the reply. Born in Alabama. It's a huge bio, Steve, and I'm gonna, for time constraints, gonna chop it a bit. Born in Alabama, did some Southeast gigs back in the day. Moved to New York, was the session player, and then relocated to Nashville, where he's out of now, guys. Steve Lewis is artist. The album that released this month is Exit to Mystery, and the song Frank's gonna spin is I Get You, which is familiar to me like that song She Gets Me by Shake and Abe. So I Get You. Steve Lewis is a writer and performer who can take a listener to a special place, one where the music transports you and time slips away, which this tune does, guys. It took me. Whoo. While straddling the line between riff rock, our Shake and Abe loves, and melodic lyricism, his material evokes stylists like Kurt Weill and Mac DeMarco, while luxuriating in steady grooves and high energy. You can hear and get a hold of him at stevelewismusic.com. He's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Music. His personal quote is, "These songs came together out of a desire to reach people emotionally. These are stories here. There are stories here, but also questions, feelings, and vibes. Like, where does love come from and where does it go?" Again, the song Frank's gonna spin is I Get You by Steve Lewis out of Nashville. And yeah, guys, wait till you hear this. Yeah, it took me away. Yeah.
All right, there's Steve Lewis with I Get You. Wow. That is like a flashback tune of some kind, isn't it?
It
It
is,
is.
and I can't place it, but it makes me go.
Yeah, my toes were tapping the whole time. Jim, what are you thinking?
The production is really interesting on this.
Yeah.
But I think it fits the song really well.
Right.
Yeah.
It was good, fun, and catchy as heck.
We were talking about, I think it's a hollow body guitar that solo's coming off of. It's got that kind of 50s or 60s vibe to it. It's a little fatter. It's not real, modern sounding. It's got a nice vintage feel to it. The whole song did.
Oh, that's great.
I love the drums and the toms and the whole bit.
Yes.
It kind of, when it started, I thought like, oh, this kind of got like a garage feel to it, but it doesn't sound like a garage song. I don't know. It's just I liked it.
Yeah. I did too.
Steve Lewis. Yeah.
Steve Lewis, and you say he's also on iTunes. He's got some stuff.
Yes. He's the first thing I saw was from 2012. I think there's like 3 or 4 albums on iTunes.
Very good.
Yeah, Steve Lewis currently recording out of Nashville. Yep.
And I found him on Bandcamp, and he
Bandcamp,
has a few releases
everywhere.
on there. Check it out. The album is Exit to Mystery. Very good.
Released this month, guys. Yep.
All right. Okay, before we get to my band, Jim, let's talk about your classic rock pick album.
Oh,
and
what a revisit, Jaime. What a revisit, Jaime. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Black Sabbath's, that's a little tough to say. Black Sabbath's second album, Paranoid. And I picked this record.
Great pick.
Because it was Loudwire's choice of the greatest #1 heavy metal album of all time. The greatest.
Okay.
And when I know when I brought that up, Frank's all like, it's not even their best record.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
But 1970.
Yeah.
Boy, early. It was earlier than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ozzy on vocals here, of course.
Great pick, Jaime.
Great pick, says Jerry.
We know you're not the biggest Ozzy fan, Jim, when it comes to Black Sabbath. I know you prefer Tony Martin over everybody else, but Dio
or Mr. Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah, who? Yeah.
I love those 2 Dio albums.
Yes,
I agree.
I was never a huge Black Sabbath guy, but I knew half this record because it was all on the radio.
Yeah, right.
And when I saw it was 8 songs, it was like a little over 41 minutes. I thought 41, boy, that sounds long for 8 songs. And I got in there, I started looking at how long these songs actually were, and I was like,
8 songs, 42 minutes, and it's 53 years old this month.
Unreal.
The songs don't feel particularly long though.
No.
Weirdly. Because you know my tolerance.
Yeah, we do.
This is not your standard flavor of pop music that you usually go for.
It was a great revisit.
Yeah, this is hard rock / heavy metal for whatever the genre may be called.
Oh yeah.
I kind of thought when I was listening to it, I thought, well, at least part of it. I was like thinking this is sort of like a kind of a hard blues.
Right.
And I wouldn't say that about War Pigs or Paranoid. And we talked a little bit before we got on. I mean, if this is the sort of prototype heavy metal record, then maybe Paranoid is the original heavy metal song.
Yeah. It is, again, that's the throwaway tune on this album as a last minute to fill in the record, Paranoid. It's amazing.
Isn't that something? Yeah. Isn't that something?
And weirdly, I was thinking Rat Salad was that throwaway song. Right.
Well, you got to have your Moby Dick on every album. You got to have your instrumental.
Yeah. And the drums going.
No, I don't think you do, actually.
that era.
No, you don't. You're right.
Maybe in the 70s you did.
But that was only like 2.5 minutes long, and it wasn't. Yeah. It was. The album overall was better than I expected.
Well, let me ask you this, Jim. and Jerry also, because
Yeah.
we're all familiar with War Pigs, we're all familiar with Iron Man, and we're all familiar with Paranoid. Take those 3 songs off this album, and will you still say, "Oh, this is a heavy metal classic album"?
No.
Good tunes, but there's nothing really to write home about,
Yep.
right? It's just Black Sabbath at that point.
I enjoyed the other songs, but
they're not radio hits.
I wouldn't hold it up as the greatest heavy metal record of all time.
Yeah,
for sure.
I really think, and I was just talking to my son Dominic about this. War Pigs, there's a hip hop artist right now who does a cover of it. There have been several covers lately of people doing War Pigs because it's a timeless song when you listen to the lyrics.
Yeah,
it is so profound.
I was thinking that today. It's just as relevant today as it was when it came out.
Right.
I thought we're still sending the poor off to
fight.
Go fight wars.
To go fight. Yep.
Right. Jerry, what are your thoughts on this album?
It was a great revisit, gentlemen. It made me realize, if you had asked me before Jaime had picked it, if you had Paranoid back when you high school growing up, I would have said, no, I didn't have that album. But on the re-listen, I must have.
Right.
Because I knew a lot of stuff, and I was like, it was a great revisit, Jaime. It really was, because it told me you did have this album and you listened to it all the way through a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jim, for the, revisit. There's one song on here I put as honorable mention that I absolutely love, and I had forgotten about it.
And what's the honorable mention song?
The honorable mention is Planet Caravan. That
there's an ambiance to it that, and I was talking to Jim
when it came on. I went, I forgot.
They seem to do one of those style songs on all the Ozzy era albums.
That's my honorable mention.
I don't know if it's Geezer. I don't know if it's Bill Ward. I don't know who's singing. It doesn't necessarily sound like it's Ozzy because it's a subdued.
Yeah.
And I've never looked it up because I enjoy the song, but it's
something
not
about it.
Yeah, it's the ambiance of it is just something else, and not my favorite on this album, but I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
What is your favorite, Jerry?
War Pigs, Luke Small.
Okay.
No.
And
as soon as it came on, I was like, oh, that's right.
Because it's a Warner Brothers record, I'm not going to play any samples of it. Warner Brothers.
I gotcha. No,
they're the worst.
They're the worst, and they don't. What they're doing now is they block it in other countries, not necessarily here. They'll block our whole show in Germany, Australia, and I forget what country. They'll just no can do. We can't play it there. Yeah, and the reason I say that, I don't want to block this because my band coming up in a little bit is from Australia, so I want to make sure they get to hear the podcast.
Yeah.
It's kind of important. War Pigs is a great tune.
Yep.
Before I hear Jim's favorite pick, I'm going to go off the grid just a little bit, and I'm going to take Electric Funeral today as my favorite song off this album. It's 450 and change, maybe, I don't know, but just a good tune. They're all good tunes, and this is one that I've had the album. I've got the CD. May have even have it on cassette at one point or another. Go out to the garage and look at the boxes. But yeah, love this album. But today, Electric Funeral is my favorite tune.
And right next to that, Frank, sorry to interrupt, right next to it in capital letters, Riff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, now, Jim, what about you? What about your favorite tune on this particular album?
It's probably a coin toss between War Pigs and Paranoid, but Paranoid is the sentimental favorite, and I've covered it probably 4 or 5 different bands at this point, but always a fun song to play.
It's a fun song to learn.
Yeah, always gets a great response. So
now, one thing, and I want to discuss this on another episode, maybe a whole episode, if you will, is kind of dive into the whole Black Sabbath catalog with you guys. Ozzy versus Ronnie James Dio. And I know Ronnie's got 3 albums with him plus a live album. You didn't mention Dehumanizer. I don't know if you're familiar with that album or not.
Oh, I thought there was only 2. Oh, great.
Heavy album. I think that's what it was, Dehumanizer or something like that. But
That's the name of it.
It is heavy. It may be their heaviest album of all the Black Sabbath albums. And I think it has a lot to do with being produced later on in time. And it's just in your face and heavy riffs, but check that out. I would love to talk to you guys and have you listen to the Tony Martin era, the album with Ian Gillan, the album with Glenn Hughes.
Ian Gillan was Born Again, yes.
Born Again. And it is produced lousy. It is a noisy record. It's not produced well, but the songs on it are Deep Purple meets Black Sabbath, a very deep thing. Just it's a good album in my opinion.
And weirdly, they all kind of slag it.
Everybody
does. Sabbath slags it.
Yeah.
But there were songs on there I thought like, wow, this is like decent stuff.
Yeah. Haunting music on that thing. And again, the Tony Martin era, it's hard to call it Black Sabbath when it's just, it seems like it was all just Tony only keeping the band name alive more than anything else.
Right.
It could have been his solo era. And I wish that's what it was, but I think due to contracts and everything else, it had to be Black Sabbath. But those albums are good too. I wish you guys would check those out.
I'm going to
give them a listen.
Got them.
Yeah. All right. 1970, and it doesn't sound like 1970. It's got again, and I say that by saying it doesn't sound dated in the production of the album.
No.
53 years, Frank.
53 years.
This month.
Wow. All right. Of the albums of Black Sabbath, again, I know Jim right off the bat, he's not going to say it's his favorite because he's going to pick Heaven and Hell. Right. Of the Ozzy albums, Jerry, do you have a favorite?
I always told you guys from past podcasts, the debut.
Yeah. That's a fantastic album too.
But yeah, it's just, I think I like it because it's, it's so unlike stuff at that time.
Right.
And then this just again, this was a great re-listen time. I as soon as I started hearing it, I go, oh yeah, you had this. You listened to this when you got home from school. This is great. This is great. So, but I just picked the debut. The more I listen, I might do it as a default. But for me, at the time, when I first heard it, just wow.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Great pick, Jim. Great pick, Jim. Wow.
Anything else you want to say about it, Jim?
No, I really enjoyed it. If you haven't heard the whole record, go back and listen to it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
No.
Well done. I'm glad you picked it.
Yeah.
I don't know about it being the greatest heavy metal record of all time, but
yeah,
that's so subjective.
It's so subjective.
And I don't even know, and I'll be honest, what really constitutes heavy metal?
Yeah.
That's wide open.
Yeah. There was a time when some people said a band like Kiss was heavy metal. I've never looked at them as a heavy metal band.
Nope.
I looked at Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Saxon,
Motorhead.
And was it the music or was it the attire, how they dressed? It was a combination, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It was more the music than the look, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
I think people would throw Scorpions in that mix, but Scorpions very commercial. To me, they were a very commercial hard rock band, especially after maybe Love Drive.
It's funny that you bring them up. I went back and listened to In Trance and their first 3 albums, Fly to the Rainbow. And that's not heavy metal.
That's their debut.
Some psychedelic rock.
Lonesome Crow.
Yeah. I mean,
there's nothing heavy metal about that record. Yeah.
And they're not produced very well either. Wow, they are noisy albums.
No,
that's kind of been my thing lately is I'm listening to these records and like, wow, that's a lot of noise going on there. A lot of static in this. But anyways, that's a discussion for another time. I do want to talk about Black Sabbath, the catalog in a whole. And maybe we can do our own little pick of best to worst and everything in between.
Boy, I got a whole lot of catching up to
It's
do.
an
on
undertaking.
the
Yeah.
Black
Same here.
Sabbath.
Same here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody know how many albums total? Gotta be
Give me a
close to
second.
20.
19
Talk
or
amongst
20.
yourselves. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves. Yeah.
I'm not counting live albums. I'd say 19 or 20, maybe 17, somewhere around there. Because the first 8 are with Ozzy, and you had 3.
1, 2, 3,
records.
4, 5,
11.
6, 7, 8.
Last Ozzy album, Technical Ecstasy.
No,
Correct?
no.
Oh,
Never Say Die. That came out in 1970.
76.
Oh,
78,
Never Say Die.
78,
I'm sorry.
78.
78, right. He got fired. That's when they toured with Van Halen. And
Correct.
Yeah,
He got-
because
he got
Heaven and
fired
Hell
for
is
that.
2 years later. Yeah.
right.
So 2, 4, 6,
Yeah,
8,
Technical
10,
Ecstasy was
12,
76.
14, 16, Frank.
16. Okay.
With
Very
with
good.
no with no
Live albums, right?
yes.
Okay.
16. Oh, well, we were
It's not too far off.
overshot it a little bit, but
Right. Very good. And we can take out You Sold Your Soul for Rock and Roll if it's in there. That's a compilation.
right.
They didn't do a lot of compilation albums, and they only put out Live at Last because Ronnie James Dio was in the band, and the record company wanted to capitalize on a live album with Ozzy because they never put one out with him. And so
I
they
had
put
no
out-
idea sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, Dehumanizer. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had no idea that they had a third with Dio.
Oh.
I'm gonna wrap my skull around this, Frank, as soon as the show's over.
Well, they went from that after Dehumanizer, then they just dropped Sabbath altogether and did a couple under the name of Heaven and Hell.
Okay, and then I have a big gap here between Dehumanizer in '92 and then 13 when they all got back together.
That was the reunion.
In 13. Yeah,
Yeah.
reunion.
And
I didn't know Dio did 3. Oh, I
Yeah.
like that.
if I'm not mistaken,
Wow.
if you go back and listen to 13, I believe the original album when it came out, and I bought it on CD before it came out again later with more songs on it. And they should have never done that because they ended the last song with the exact same storm and church bell as the first Black Sabbath album.
Oh,
It was
wow.
fantastic. I forget the name of the song, but then they turn around and they put the album out again, and there's like 3 or 4 extra songs that were bonus, ruined the whole feel of the
Whole
album.
vibe of it.
Yeah. So,
Unfortunate.
oh yeah. All right, we've given Black Sabbath an awful lot of attention tonight, guys. I
Yes, we
appreciate
have.
it. That's a good deal. Check them out. The greatest heavy metal album of all time, according to Loudwire.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
Lavender.
I
I
bet
usually don't look at those lists because they're
Yeah.
usually, but I think there were 3 or 4 Sabbath like albums in the top 20, and I think a couple of Metallica
Somebody's-
albums.
it's
Yeah.
my
2 or
guess that the
3.
kid that put it together probably heard these songs on Rock Band or whatever,
No, I
and
don't
decided to choose them. From there.
Yeah, he can play them really good too.
There, exactly.
I can play this. This is a good album.
I think Number of the Beast ended up pretty high. It was somewhere in the top 10 there.
Wow. Okay. I don't know.
Weirdly, not British Steel. I think it was a different.
A lot of
That's
people
a
pick
Priest album
Stained
that come-
Glass and
No, it was a later record.
Painkiller or something like that.
No,
Jawbreaker.
As long as it wasn't one with old Ripper Owens, I'm okay.
no, Screaming
Yeah.
for Vengeance. I think was the
There you
one
go.
that
Well,
was.
that's a
Oh.
good album to pick from Priest.
Love that album cover.
Yeah. All right, let's move ahead to some new music. And like I alluded to, they're from Adelaide, Australia. The name of the band is Velvet Moth. They took it as a tongue-in-cheek name from Iron Butterfly, Velvet Moth.
I like it already.
I do too.
And their whole shtick is pretty much tongue-in-cheek. They like that twin guitar sound. They've borrowed from Moth the Hoople and Captain Beefheart and Black Sabbath, MC5, Creedence, the Beatles, Lou Reed, Television, Ziggy, and Spinal Tap. You name it. They've borrowed from it, and that's their influences. The band, again, Velvet Moth, consists of Nico on guitars and vocals, James Beige on guitars and backing vocals, DK on bass, synths, and backing vocals, and Guillermo Montoya on drums. The song I'm going to play for you is called Paddy Wagon Party, and it's off their third album, their newest album called Golden Calf of the Absurd. And it was released September 16th, 2023. And again, the song is Paddy Wagon Party. Oh, there's Velvet Moth with Paddy Wagon Party. And Woo! They had to be from Australia when they mentioned the didgeridoo. So, Jim, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's what I was thinking. I I thought this is like, you wouldn't know if they were Australian, because it sounds like some butt shaking American boogie woogie music.
Almost had an Allman Brothers
other than the didgeridoo reference. But I thought Paddy Wagon was very much an American phrase, but it was a fun song.
Paddy Wagon Party. Yep.
Fun song, fun lyrics. A couple of nice little touches in there. I love the addition of the hand claps. I thought that was very nicely placed in there.
Isn't that amazing how crystal clear the hand claps are? And yet, like I was saying, that Iron Butterfly-ish guitar solo towards the end, where it's just pure, just distortion. And it's like they're playing it through a Slurpee cup or something. It was just going all over the place. Jerry, what are your thoughts?
Dive bar, and blow the roof off it.
Yeah. Now, I will say, I picked
Love
this
that.
song because it was a
Love
short
it.
song on their album.
Oh,
Some
wow.
of their other stuff is very psychedelic and it's all over the place and
Yeah.
just right up my alley. I love these guys.
That's fantastic.
So
Yes.
check them out on Bandcamp. I'll put the links on our show. That's Velvet Moth. Just a
Love
fun
it.
band. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And when they
that's
send
a
you
Saturday night band at the
right.
club. Oh yeah. That's
when they
great.
send you a bio and they're telling you, look, we're tongue in cheek. They all came from another band and they just kind of put this one together and
Yeah.
their
Kind of
first
a side
album,
project or something.
it started.
Love it.
They were just partying, having a good time, and someone was recording them and said, "Hey, this is a demo. Let's put this together." And 3 albums later, here we have the Paddy
Great.
Wagon Party. Yeah.
Love it.
Cool.
All right. So check them out. Velvet Moth. All right. Moving straight ahead. Jim, what do you got for us?
Well,
I got to say right off the bat, you surprised me.
I surprised you. Okay. Well, this band comes from just you hop on the 57, go south. They're from Brea, California. They've been around since 2022. The name of the band is Wage. And I believe they're remnants of a previous band called Minimum Wage. Scott Russell on guitar and vocals, Jason Spellman lead guitar, Roland Meyer on bass, and Paul Rosato on drums. And the song we're going to hear is called Wreckage. Right. So go ahead and drop the needle in the groove, Frank.
All right, there is Wage with Wreckage.
Yeah, their byline is Wage is a garage band with songs of loss and redemption, a full volume balm for a life lived.
And that was a full volume balm, if ever I had heard one.
Of a life lived.
That's my kind of garage music. It is loud and it's not polished at all. It's just They're just
aggressive.
That's
aggressive.
yeah.
And they may have found Spinal Tap's amps, and because they turned them up to 11.
That's 11.
Right, man. It's not punk. It's rock. It's not.
Kinda.
I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you label it? What do
it's its own thing.
and it's
That's the beauty
It's
of
its
it.
own thing.
Yeah. It's I wouldn't know where to find them in what bin at the record store, where to look, because it's just loud.
It's I don't know what you call it. It's kind of a cross between hard rock and alternative.
Could be.
I don't know. Yeah.
I hate labels anyway, but
I know you do.
Right?
I know. It's so hard because it pigeonholes a band, and it doesn't work. But I always think of, well, where would I find them if I went to the record store,
in the wage section.
in the wage section. Yep. Away from the minimum section.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good deal. And they're from
Brea.
Brea.
Yeah.
So they're local
Yeah,
here.
right down the like Jaime said, right down the 57.
Very good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
interesting, Jaime.
If they have a full album, that's one of those albums where you would take the headphones off afterwards and go get the aspirin, because it is so loud. It is just,
Oh, I can. Yeah.
They I think they have a total of 3 songs out right now. You can find them on YouTube under Wage.
Right.
They're
to check them out.
Wage on Facebook, on Twitter.
Cool. Yeah, that's that.
Good
Like I said,
stuff.
love garage music. Is that?
Yeah.
And that's again, is that how you define them? No, but that style of the production of it is not. There's no polish on there. There was no turtle wax to be found.
Nope.
On this song, right? They are just.
But everything sounds
Plug,
good.
yeah. Plug
Oh,
in.
awesome.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I love the
I
bass.
loved
tone.
it. I loved it.
Grief.
Yeah.
Yep. No, it was
great-
produced very well.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, that's Wage. And the album, or the EP, is What Are the Odds? And the song,
Wreckage.
Wreckage. Good deal.
Yeah.
All right. Very different from what you have presented in the past. Jerry and I were looking
Yeah.
at each other like,
Are we sure he picked it?
you letting your kids pick your songs for you now? What's
Yeah,
going on?
Bring
what's
some
going on?
surprises every once in a
Well,
while.
you did. I like that. Speaking of
yeah.
surprises,
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for this one.
and it may
Here
not.
we go.
This is going to be anticlimactic, I'm sure. After I already told
I
you,
don't know.
yeah. But for me, and I've talked smack about this band so much in the past, starting in high school, and but this is a band that I have grown to appreciate in small doses as especially an older adult now. When I hear a few tunes, I like them. And I thought, let me check the record out. And I bought the record used. Wasn't going to spend a full Monty on it, but let's go with REO's Speedwagon. How about that?
High Infidelity.
High Infidelity. Keep on loving you in your letter. Don't let him go. Take it on the run, and more.
Their breakthrough record.
Man, came out in 1980.
Dairy Days, Frank.
Exactly. And
Great cover.
Yes. And I got into this band just a little bit because our buddy Greg was a huge
So
REO
was I. I
Speedwagon.
love that. Yes.
Todd was an REO Speedwagon.
Really?
Greg L, Todd N. Yes. Wow, Frank. I can't believe you picked that.
And again, I put them in the same category with Styx and Journey, Toto.
Styx and REO, I believe, are touring together.
They're like touring partners. They're tag team partners forever,
That's a good bill.
That is a good bill. I'd go see that. I'd see that. Yeah.
I saw Styx. I've never seen REO Speedwagon. I don't know, but listening to this album the other day, I'm
Frank.
like, there's a few good tunes on here, and there's a clunker.
The whole thing was on the radio.
Yeah, they really played that a lot. So it came out in 1980.
Dairy Days, Frank. Oh boy.
Oh yeah, and I always think of that little black radio that was up there on the shelf that we used to. We would blast, and this was on all the time. So anyways, that's REO Speedwagon, High Infidelity. I was going to pick.
I played that record a humongous amount of times when it came out.
Did you?
Worn mine out. Yep.
Yeah.
What was their other hit? You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
Can't tune a fish.
Yeah. And
changes through some change. Yeah.
I tried to go through some of their other albums and I couldn't get through them. This is a peak album.
Well,
I would agree. This is
probably their most solid,
the biggest.
Record.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything else was a little hit and miss.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Jam-packed hard rock episode. Jim bringing the goods. Holy mackerel. Not only the rock album, but then his band. I think my speakers on my computer are been blasted out. I'm
blown out.
Yeah.
I've done my job then.
Yeah.
Yes, he has. Yep.
Jerry, before we get out of here, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yes, sir. Jim and Frank and folks out in conspiracy land. If you want to drop us a line, hit us up at the jfjshow@gmail.com. The rock and music's out there. We've had Steve Lewis, Velvet Moth, and Wage on tonight's show. I'd like to thank my co-hosts, Jim and Frank. Keep rocking, folks out in conspiracy land. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. And like Jim's going to say in a minute, we don't survive unless the bands share these episodes.
Share it, folks. Yep.
Gotta have a little help from the bands we present. So please remember to do that. Jim, what else?
Well, if you like what you've heard so far, smash that like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell, slide into your DMs every 2 weeks, more or less. Leave a comment.
Yeah.
Share it. Go, hey, look at these clowns.
Yeah. We've heard it before, folks. Yeah.
And again, we've been doing this for 30 years, 29 years. We never really came up with
29 and change, 30. Yeah, it could be.
This show's been going.
My memory's no good anymore.
Nope. Nope.
Well, this has been fun.
Thank you, folks.
Coming on, like I say, anniversary episode, either this next one or the one after. I'm not sure. I'd have to
look up. Yeah. I've been through 2 notebooks since we've done this.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'll find that first one.
It's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, Jim, anything else you got to say before we get out of here?
I don't think so.
No. Jerry, one last pass?
No, sir. Nope.
No. Take us on home, Jim.
Shop is now closed.
Shut the up. Could you please shut up?
Right.
Just shut up.